This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
OPEC oil output rose in December, a Reuters survey found on Friday, as increases in Iraq, Angola and Nigeria offset ongoing cuts by Saudi Arabia and other members of the wider OPEC Plus alliance to support the market. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries pumped 27.88 million barrels per day, BPD, last month, the survey found, up 70,000 barrels of oil per day from November. Output is down more than 1 million barrels of oil per day from the same month a year ago. The boost comes ahead of further OPEC Plus cuts in 2024 and Angola's exit from OPEC, which are set to lower January output and market share. OPEC's market share has already been falling due to output restraint and the departure of some members.
China's oil trade with Iran has stalled as Tehran withholds shipments and demands higher prices from its top client, tightening cheap supply for the world's biggest crude importer, refinery and trade sources said. The cutback in Iranian oil, which makes up some 10% of China's crude imports and hit a record in October, could support global prices and squeeze profits at Chinese refiners. The abrupt move, which one industry executive called a default, could also represent the backfiring of an October U.S. waiver on sanctions of Venezuelan oil, which diverted shipments from the South American producer to the U.S. and India, elevating prices for China as shipments dwindled.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Oil prices rose over $1 on Friday as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken prepared to visit the Middle East in an attempt to contain flaring regional tensions as the Israel-Hamas conflict rages. Brent crude futures were up $1.34, or 1.7%, at $78.93 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose $1.62, or 2.2%, to $72.81 by 14:07 GMT. Both benchmarks are on track to end the first week of the year higher, having almost recouped their losses from Thursday triggered by hefty increases in U.S. gasoline and distillate stocks.
Asia's imports of liquefied natural gas, LNG, rose to a record in December, but spot prices remain subdued as shipments from top exporters Australia and the United States also hit all-time highs. Asia, the top buyer of the super-chilled fuel, saw imports reach 26.61 million metric tons in December, according to data compiled by commodity analysts Kepler. This was up from November's 23.35 million tons and also eclipsed the previous high of 26.15 million from January 2021, according to Kepler. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Palladium prices fell by 3% on Thursday as concern the take-up of electric vehicles will destroy long-term demand unraveled some of the December gains that followed Britain's expansion of sanctions on other Russian metal trade. Commodity analysts said technical factors also played a part as palladium fell by 3% to $1,033 a troy ounce by 18:59 GMT, its lowest since December 14 when the UK restrictions were announced and the market was concerned about possible future expansion. Russia, which is being punished by widening Western sanctions for its invasion of Ukraine in 2022, is home to Nornickel.
Copper prices rebounded after touching a 3-week low on Friday but remained on track for a 0.6% weekly loss as financial markets dialed back expectations that the Federal Reserve would start cutting interest rates in March. 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange rose 0.5% to $8,510 a metric ton by 15:13 GMT after hitting its lowest since December 13 at $8,416. Data on Friday showed that U.S. employers hired more workers than expected in December, suggesting the Fed is unlikely to be in any rush to cut interest rates over the next few months.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
The United Nations Food Agency's World Price Index ended last year about 10% below its 2022, with values in December also down from the previous month, helping further ease concerns over global food price inflation. The Food and Agriculture Organization's FAO Price Index, which tracks the most globally traded food commodities, averaged 118.5 points in December, down 1.5% from November and 10.1% below December 2022 levels. For 2023 as a whole, the index averaged 13.7% below year-earlier levels, with only sugar prices higher over the period. The FAO's sugar price index did, however, decline 16.6% in December from November. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.